Elon Musk unveiled the brand new stainless steel Starship design in his facility out there in Boca Chica, Texas. SpaceX's Starship and Super Heavy Launch Vehicle is a fully rapidly reusable transport system that's designed to carry crew and cargo to the Moon, Mars, and elsewhere in the solar system and possibly beyond, although I wouldn't bet on that last one. Elon Musk happens to have an agenda here, and he clearly tells us that the agenda is he wants this particular Starship to be the fastest path to a self-sustaining city on Mars.
So this is one of the other critical pieces of the puzzle needed to establish a base on the Moon and Mars, a city ultimately. But the critical thing that we need to focus on, I think, is the fastest path to a self-sustaining city on Mars.
Musk's goal to accomplish this agenda is to put people in orbit within a year. Now, to me, that's pretty ambitious, don't you think? This time around, Musk didn't tell us anything about a plan to nuke Mars, so that's good because we certainly don't want to be hostile to the Martians, or we don't want to burn up all that water ice and everything else captured in the Martian polar caps because he wants to terraform.
But eventually you could transform Mars into an Earth-like planet.
How would you do that?
You'd warm it up. The fast way and the slow way.
Okay. Give me the fast way.
The fast way is drop thermonuclear weapons over the poles.
You're a supervillain. That's what a supervillain does.
Yeah.
The problem with nuking Mars is that the gravitational component of the planet, as well as the atmosphere of Mars, would basically make all that water ice just go right up into the atmosphere, up into space. It would be radioactive, thus not actually terraforming anything, and more like terraforming. Shucks. Now, why does Musk want to do this so quickly? Well, what he tells us is that we're at this kind of point in evolution where we have a window. And that window means that technologically we can advance very quickly, and if we can speed up the process of spacecraft development, testing, and then finally use, we have the ability to go out onto the Moon, onto Mars, and colonize both, in this way beating the sun from expanding. And so if we wait forever like NASA's timetables, it could take several million years. But seriously, Musk is telling you that the manufacturing of the engines for this stainless steel Starship, he'll need to have a minimum of 24 engines per ship, and he's claiming that he will be able to manufacture one engine per day next year. That's 365 engines.
The rate at which we will be building ships is going to be quite crazy by space standards.
Including the boosters, of course. I have been amazed in watching these SpaceX launches and seeing these boosters come back down from space and land vertically. It's just exhilarating to be just real open with you. And to me, it's exciting. And Musk tells us that the Starship is actually going to be designed with the same exact landing process, which absolutely blows my mind.
It's coming in at hypersonic velocity like this, sort of at around a 60-degree angle. So it comes like this, and then starts falling, and then just falls like a skydiver. And it's just controlling itself, and then it turns and lands, like that. There you go, see? Same thing. Look better with the hand? Okay. But it'll look totally nuts to see that thing land.
So if Musk is producing 365 engines next year, and he needs 24 per craft, I'm going to leave it up to you, right out there, you, to do the math for me, and then just put it down there in the comment section, kind of help me out. Oh, and by the way, while you're down there, click that subscribe button and share this video. My name's Joe. Welcome to the Beyond Theory Show. This show is a place where you can stack your knowledge and amplify your orbit. If we think about this reasonably, rationally, and logically, In order to colonize Mars, they don't need many ships. In fact, Musk's plan is in 1 to 2 months, they're going to do a test flight of their Mark 1 Starship, and they want to reach orbit in less than 6 months from today, the date of the release of this video. After reaching orbit in less than 6 months, they're going to have a booster with a ship, the Mark III, and the Mark III is going to be built in October, November 2019. When this bugger says fast, he ain't kidding. The ships and the boosters are going to be built not only at Cape Canaveral, Florida, but at Boca Chica, Texas, as fast as they possibly can, as I'd mentioned earlier. And the reason why is because they're continually improving their design and manufacturing. It kind of surprised me that Musk gets up there and says that they built the Starship prototype outside, because steel has this kind of capability where they can weld it outside, which made a lot of sense. I just think it's a little dangerous, and hopefully there's some quality control going on there, which I'm sure there is, so that way a grain of sand doesn't get into a rivet or a particular seam or inside the gosh darn thing and cause some problems in the long run, especially if there's people involved.
And they gimbal, which means that the whole engine moves. So the way a rocket steers is by moving the entire engine.
Why go with steel as opposed to aluminum, lithium, or carbon fiber? Well, Musk explains that the steel, the 301 stainless steel, is actually cheaper at $2,500 a ton compared to carbon fiber, which is $130,000 a ton. Not only that, but he wants the stainless steel Starship to be able to survive and excel in highly hostile environments like the extreme cold of space and Mars, as well as the extreme heat involved in re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Regarding the heat shield of the SpaceX Starship, Musk unveils that it is actually composed of microscopic glass threads almost. They look like vermicelli, popular pasta. Forget about it. And this is a good way to prevent the sucker from burning up in re-entry. This kind of abbreviated response video really doesn't do the entire announcement justice, so if you want to check that out, I've linked it for you right here in that card. You just have to click on that thing. As I'm watching this presentation, we get to the question and answer section, and someone out there in the crowd asked a really important question regarding Elon Musk, and it kind of got him off script a little bit, which was real nice because he let a couple things slip about his ethic or principles that he uses in engineering. One of the things that he said was, the best part is no part.
If the design takes a long time to build, it's the wrong design. This is the fundamental thing. Over and over, it's like the tendency is to complicate things. And I have another thing, which is like the best part is no part. The best process is no process. It weighs nothing, costs nothing, can't go wrong. So, as obvious as that sounds, the best part is no part.
I guess that means that we don't need to have replication for life support systems, as long as the ones we got work real well. Probably not. But it does lead me to wonder when he said the next component of his design ethos or ethic, and that is the kind of rhetorical question, well, what did you undesign?
Like the thing I'm most impressed with when I have the design meetings at SpaceX is, what did you undesign? Undesigning is the best thing. Just delete it.
It made me realize that Elon Musk, in his quest for speed and velocity to get all this stuff up there and get it rolling, which I appreciate and I'm really looking forward to it as a fan, I kind of have a little bit of concern that if he's going to be mass producing these starships starting next year, that there may be some design flaws that don't become evident until there are some more tests, and this would require, of course, more ships to be going up there in orbit. He also said that there needs to be a test or experimental mission that's unmanned to go and orbit Mars and come back, which I think is really exciting. But if we're starting to design stuff now that's going to have humans on it for an 8 or 9 month mission to Mars, 18 months on the planet according to his plan, and then 8 or 9 months back and then re-entry, we got to really make sure that this is safe and the quest for speed can't get in the way. When you have something that's quickly manufactured, like all that junk that's coming out of China off Scamazon, the stuff that breaks down, it's all about production. Kick it out. But if you have a flaw in the design, maybe that won't become evident until it actually gets out there in space when nothing can be done to save the crew. An element that I think Musk failed, unfortunately, to cover, he was very nervous, and that's cool, was space psychology. The mentality, what will happen when he gets 100 people, let's say, up there in the Starship, orbiting and on the way to Mars or the Moon. People do strange things when their bodies start breaking down, like we know from the missions and the ISS, long duration spaceflight kinds of things. And on this channel and other videos, you can see one of those right here. Just click on that. I've talked about this kind of effect of psychological closing and feeling removed and distanced. Now, y'all out there in the comment section, tell me that Elon Musk runs SpaceX much like running a Starship. So, we're being told that y'all don't have anything to worry about. But how do we know, right? And I would love to see the experimental research results of mock-ups of these long-duration space missions using SpaceX hardware. But because they're a private company, which is great, they don't have to release all that until it's ready to be released, or they can put a spin on it if they wanted to, but I'm not saying they're gonna. Another element that Musk did not talk about during this big reveal of that stainless steel Starship is the error rates of the existing hardware and vehicles that he's got up there and has already been using. In looking at global data regarding the success of space launches in general from Earth to space using boosters, it appears as though there is a 5% error rate. Error meaning it goes boom. So while Musk is planning on just cranking out all these engines and getting all these ships built, well, why do they need a fleet? Oh, it's for all those transfers of different fuel lines back and forth. So this way, he says it's a critical step, which I think is pretty gosh darn smart. At the same time, if you have a 5% error rate and you build 100 ships and throw those ships up there, 5 of them are going to have problems. And if he has this whole design issue of let's undesign the best part to no part, can we get some reassurance that there's going to be some sort of redundancy to get the crew safe and out of there alive? After all, we did just see the explosion of the Drago escape rocket system right there on the launch pad a little while ago. See, this is more research and development in real time. With speed comes sacrificing a bit of safety. But that's not to let NASA off the hook. See, let me tell you something about that. NASA can take years to figure out what they're going to be doing with the Space Launch System because they keep on adding parts and redoing parts and doing simulation modeling, etc., etc. That's real great for safety, but what you sacrifice is time. And if you are a space lover, you enjoy space, whatever you call yourself, you want to see something now. You're tired of waiting around. I'm tired of waiting around. How much older does everybody got to get? I mean, the goal here is to stack your knowledge and amplify your orbit. It's not to wait around and around like we do with many of the NASA programs, which of course I appreciate their work and I know that you do too. It just takes so gosh darn long. It takes years. The Space Launch System, the largest rocket system ever built by NASA in the world, it's super expensive and it's still not on the right timetable. There are some real funding problems with the Space Launch System. So bravo to the SpaceX team and all the SpaceX fans out there, even those y'all at the SpaceX Lounge subreddit, because we need to see some activity. SpaceX being able to pull off this Starship with a crew, it'll completely change our dynamics of being able to explore and discover efficiently and effectively the next frontier. Now, if you enjoy this video, please do reach on down there, click that subscribe button, and click that notification bell, and make sure when you click it, you hit all notifications. And I really want to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section. Let me know. And by the way, I've also linked SpaceX's full presentation in the description box down below, along with a bunch of other links. Now, this video is part of a series of human space exploration right here on the Beyond Theory show, and so you can catch up with the rest of that series right here.